Not everyone has a wife who lets them go to Africa for 16 days without them. I'm lucky to have one. Also lucky to have a mom who let Pa go. Allie's main condition was that I had to go when the kids were in school, because it's easier to be a single mom when they are gone most of the day. So, Pa and I booked plane tickets for the first day of school. This year we have kids in 3 different schools. Hattie, her first day of junior high, Enen in elementary school, and Marin in preschool. I had just enough time to welcome them home before I had to hit the road.
Allie's home from her first day at junior high!
Hi!
To try to sweeten the deal for Allie, I promised to do all the dishes for the entire month preceding the trip and the month after. But let's not dwell on that part of the story. This story is about Africa. Big, beautiful Africa. More specifically, this is our story of exploring 2,300 miles of Southeast Africa by van, bike, boat, foot, and air. It's our story of encountering vast landscapes, magnificent animals, stunning birds, of course, ancient civilizations, and remarkable people. In preparation for this trip, I spent months planning our route and documenting every stretch of road and every turn. My notes turned into a document of 45 pages. Just punching addresses into Google Maps was not going to work on this trip. It suggested driving on roads that looked like Impala trails through the bush and crossing rivers that had no bridges or ferries. I mapped out a route that stuck to the pavement as much as possible. I'm very glad I did that prep work. Before any delays or side trips, our route was already the equivalent in miles of driving from Cache Valley to New Haven, Connecticut. In drive time, it was the equivalent of a trip from Vancouver, Canada to Key West, Florida. But before all that started, we had a 10-hour red-eye flight and a jolly 9-hour layover in London. While there, we made sure to eat some mushy peas for Mom, and to scout out a few Harry Potter locations for the children. Then we took the tube back to the airport for our 11-hour red-eye flight to Johannesburg. After skirting around Nigeria's no-fly zone, and a few movies and good books later, we were there. As much as we would have loved a magical Lion King beginning to our journey, we had a few hurdles to get over first.
Here we are in South Africa, on our way to Zimbabwe.
Hello.
What's your favorite story so far, Pa?
The cow van story.
Took us forever to meet up with our van rental guy. Said he'd pick us up at the airport. Said he'd pick us up on a road that was closed, and we sat there waited for him for a half hour and called him and called him and called him. He didn't answer. We called the offices, and they called him, and he called us right back and told us to meet in the parking lot. And we were trying to find him in the parking lot. Like, yep, we're standing right here by this sign. Where are you? And it's like, I'm looking all over for you. And it's like, look for a white car. I'm like, okay, white car. I see about 300 of those in the parking garage. It's like, well, this one's got brown on it. It's like a cow. It's like a cow car. Come around the corner, sure enough, there's a van painted like a cow. Like, well,
That must be
guess
him.
we're driving a cow van on this trip through Africa.
And it turned out not to be the car that we're driving, just the one he picked us up
Yeah,
in.
but we didn't know that. But anyway, he invites us in, and there's stickers all over the doors that say, "Don't approach van carrying snakes." So we're like, "Are there snakes in here?" It's like, "No, we just put those to scare people so you don't get robbed." Yeah, okay. Then we're driving with the guy, and we just thought we were going to go out of the airport and, you know, he'd show us what to do, and we're on our way, and we kept driving. And he was from Malawi, didn't speak English very well. I don't think he understood half of what was going on. We're also convinced it was his first day on the job. Anyway, then we kept driving. Oh, he also had no seatbelt because the seatbelt was jammed. I'm like, okay. Anyway, we keep driving. I'm like, where are we going? Are we going to your office? Where are we going? And he kind of stumbled through a response and told us we were going to pick up our van. So we're like, oh, okay, so the cow van is not our van. Bummer. So we're in a very generic black van. But anyway, and then it took forever. He had no idea, it seemed like, what was going on. But we're in a van and we're moving, so progress.
It wasn't long before the van started having fits and other miscellaneous adventures.
We paid our first bribe.
And now we're back on the road.
Only 2 hours behind schedule.
All of that was mere child's play compared to what awaited us at the first of our 6 border crossings. There is no curse in Elvish, Entish, or the tongues of men for the treachery of Baitbridge. I had read many horror stories of the crossing, but since we were so prepared, surely we would not experience the fate of those poor souls who had gone before. What idiots we were! Baitbridge is Africa's monument to human stupidity, a sacred shrine of inefficiency. It would take hours to tell the full story, but in summary, there were no signs, no instructions, and no logic. Questions to border agents were met with complete apathy. We were obviously not welcome. One lady sent us to the garage to print a form. After searching around for a garage that was nowhere in sight, we returned to ask if we could walk there or if we had to drive. She looked at us with confusion and said it was obviously too dangerous for us to walk. Thanks for saying that the first time. We waited in many different lines that had no particular order, but had to be completed in order. At one point, we waited in line for over an hour with at least 200 people. Only one agent was examining and stamping passports for everyone. If that person left to use the bathroom, everyone was sent into another building or some other location and a line reformed, with us at the back. Fortunately, we spent our time in line next to some wonderful humans, the first folks we ever met from Zimbabwe, and we were their first Americans. They taught us words in Shona. We laughed and shared in the misery together. Those poor folks go through Baitbridge twice a week. At one point, the official process required us to walk a mile through a creepy freight yard to another building where we were required to pay a scammer for a form right in front of an official. The official at least helped us haggle the scammer down from $200 for the form to $20. My research had prepared me for that one. When we finally did get our visas, they glued mine into Pa's passport and Pa's into mine. I pointed out the mistake, and then we stood and watched them slowly peel the stickers off for close to 30 minutes and then swap them. All of this was made worse because we showed up on Zimbabwe's presidential election day. There was increased suspicion and scrutiny. One agent talked to his superior on the phone for 15 minutes about whether or not they should let us in. When we finally reached the end of the infuriating process, some of the scammers followed us to our van and asked us to show our appreciation by giving them a tip. The only thing I wanted to show them was one of my fingers.
Proof that we did it! We did it under 4 hours. 3 hours and 58 minutes to be precise. That is our registration number up there. We are finally able to leave and go to Zimbabwe.
After we finally got through and got some sleep, Baitbridge became a funny memory and gave us some of the best stories of the entire trip. To this day, we still substitute the word Baitbridge for any swear word we might feel inclined to say.
We're just having our laugh after getting through that mother Baitbridge place. I'm pretty sure National Geographic needs to do a documentary of that.
We were too frustrated to sleep, and since the plan was to wake up at 5 a.m. anyway to drive 4 hours to church at Masvingo, we decided to just plow through and catch some sleep once we got there.
What did you say, Pa? Haven't slept in 4 days. Haven't showered in 4 days. Haven't eaten in 2.
Here we are.
Here we are going to church in Zimbabwe.
Church was very refreshing, especially when we found Pa's passport and money belt that we thought we lost in the middle of the night during a roadside bathroom break, or when we decided to rip a fender off the van because it was rattling too much on the dirt roads. After that, it was time to explore the ruins of the Great Zimbabwe National Monument. Great Zimbabwe is the symbol of Zimbabwe's identity as a nation, and the reason behind its name. In the Karanga dialect, Zimbabwe means houses of stone. The site contains the remnants of a stone city surrounding a hill with palatial ruins on top. It contains the largest pre-colonial structures in Africa after the Great Pyramids of Giza. What's truly remarkable is that the structures were not built with any mortar. The builders poured scalding water into natural cracks in the granite to break apart remarkably uniform-sized bricks, which they then stacked with precision to create walls up to 36 feet high and 20 feet thick. With the exception of our private guide named Lovemore, whose fee was $3 an hour, we were the only ones there. We wandered and explored in amazement. And the rain added an air of mystery. It was a fantastic experience. Even though the only current residents are monkeys, we could imagine the year 1100 when 10 to 20,000 Bantu people lived in this trading empire of Eastern Africa. Archaeologists have found pottery from China and Persia, as well as Arab coins in the ruins. One tradition, which is not likely to be true, is that Great Zimbabwe was the residence of the Queen of Sheba. What is definitely true is that the origins of Great Zimbabwe are still a matter of controversy, with several modern clans claiming the power of heritage. The Zimbabwe bird is the symbol of the importance of this heritage. 8 soapstone statues of the bird were found in the ruins. 7 of them were pillaged and traveled the world in various museums before being returned. The only one never to leave the region is this one, which is now the definitive icon of an independent Zimbabwe. Its image featured on the flag and coat of arms. It also graces the desk in my office in the form of a treasured souvenir.
Hey, little buddy. Thanks. We'll see you later.
You know what I mean?
Driving through Zimbabwe. It's 56. Everyone says this is about as cold as it gets. And rainy.
We then drove 5 hours to Mutare, on the western border of Zimbabwe, where we had to talk our way into a hotel stay because they evidently did not receive the reservation we paid for beforehand. Compared to sleeping in the back of the van on the side of the road and being woken up by kids peeking through the windows, the room was downright palatial. We also got our first African meal that was not a peanut butter and honey sandwich. Pa and I heartily agree that eating and sleeping are always secondary to exploring and adventuring. The next morning, we woke up at 5 a.m. to cross into Mozambique through the Machipanda border station. It was terrible, but at least it wasn't Baitbridge. Then we drove about 8 hours to Gorongosa National Park. Pa made an unplanned stop along the way to purchase this $32 souvenir, a speeding ticket. The drive took a few hours longer than expected because the potholes on the road past Inchope were big enough to scuba dive in.
Oh my goodness. Wonder if there's any hippos in there. How's the road going, Pa?
Oh, this is a great road. You haven't seen potholes till you've seen the road to Gorongosa.
This is the good road. Till we turn off on the not paved road. This is the paved road. This is actually a pretty good part. Ooh. Yes. You have better luck driving on the moon.
At Gorongosa, we rendezvoused with Pa's sister Deb, along with Uncle Dan and cousins Rob and Linz. They flew into Beira and drove to Gorongosa from the east. They almost got stuck paying over $2,000 to rent a truck for 4 days, but they met a man at church who just gave them his truck, free of charge, which is extra impressive understanding they also had to drive the road from Inchope.
Allison, if this video backs up and you see it, oh my! Before I can talk to you, don't worry, the Spangs have already been down this road. They're at Gorongosa now.
It is the road.
This is the correct road.
Look at these.
Oh my.
We spent 3 days together, going on safaris of all types and exploring the local village. Gorongosa was the crown jewel of African national parks in the 60s, but after a 10-year war for independence from Portugal, and then Mozambique's 16-year civil war, Gorongosa had been completely decimated. For the last 15 years, Aggie alum Greg Carr has been leading restoration efforts. It was awesome to see.
og ég fæ blóðna sig. En ég stend
We didn't want to say goodbye, but we had more adventures ahead of us. We ticked off several items from our bucket lists while at Gorongosa. One of my biggest goals was to be harassed by baboons. Before the trip, I researched and picked campsites with the most baboon complaints. I'm proud to report that at Gorongosa, we were robbed. Twice.
Get out of here! Quit eating our bread! Hey! Go, go!
Ow.
That's the funniest thing.
We shared one more meal at the restaurant together, and then woke up at 4:30 the next morning to head out.
The little stream down there, village over there.
So is the stream up here or down there?
The next 2 days were our longest driving days. The first was 9 hours plus a border crossing.
Border crossings are fun. We've already gone about 4 miles. Trucks still go as far as you can see. Last time I got this video, a police officer yelled at us and made us delete it, but we're far enough away now.
And the next day was 6 hours plus Bait Bridge. Please excuse my foul language. We drove through a couple cities, many villages, and a whole lot of open country. Restaurants and bathrooms were non-existent. We took care of business alongside the road in the open air as the good Lord intended. Even gas stations, if you can call them that, were very few and far between. Off the grid, the attendant had to start a generator in order to pump. Some villages didn't even have generators and sold gas from repurposed plastic bottles hanging from a post. I thought I would get a lot of reading done, or maybe take some naps on our long drives, but I couldn't stop looking out the window the entire time. All the folks we passed evidently had the same impression about us. Everyone stopped and did a double take when we drove by.
They all stop and look.
Yeah, they all stopped and turned around.
That gave us many laughs. We also enjoyed picking out the coolest looking baobab trees along the way. We finally pulled into the town of Chiredzi just after dark. The entire town seemed to be on fire, but no one gave the impression of being concerned. We stayed with a lovely family we met on Airbnb. Pa had the distinct honor of having his first ever bucket shower. The matriarch of the family asked if he would like her to fetch him cold water, or if she should heat it up. We wondered how many guests ever responded with a request for cold shower water, but then we learned we were the first guests they ever had. The next day, we passed some fantastic landscapes on our way into the world-famous Kruger National Park in South Africa. We entered at the Pafuri Gate in the far north and spent 3 days working our way south to the Numbi Gate. We spent a night at 3 different camps, Punda Maria, Letaba, and Pretoriaskop. We saw more animals than we knew existed on this earth and had a heck of a good time.
Ole, 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 ole.
That is awesome.
While over in Africa mining for gold, oh, mining for gold. Come along, a big lion caught me in my hole, ole, caught me in my hole. The lion said, buddy, you plumb out of luck, ole, you plumb out of luck.
I'm just sitting here, sleeping next to elephants.
Made a lunch for me, Lord, I had to duck, ole, I had to duck.
Guinea fowls coming through our camp this morning.
I jabbed that lion right clean in the jaw, oh, right clean in the jaw. Picked up his tail, dragged him across the floor, ole, dragged him across the floor. I chained him up in the back of my truck, oh, in the back of my truck. Said, what's that you had to say about luck, ole, that you said about luck?
What is this, a picture of old fossils?
The first place I took him was 10 miles away, oh, 10 miles away. So the people, listen what this lion can say, ole, what this lion can say. The lion looked round, he started to cry, oh, he started to cry. Said this man punched me and he blackened my eye, ole, and he blackened my eye. The people got angry, they started to shout, ole. Lion said, that's what I was talking about, ole. Oh, they hauled me up the courthouse stairs, oh, up the courthouse stairs.
Check it out, hold him up, Pa.
The judge was a monkey in an old wicker chair, ole, in an old wicker chair. The monkey said guilty and the people all cheered, oh, the people all cheered. He slammed his gavel, said 25 years, ole, said 25 years. Hey, mate.
Oh, there's one right there. There's another leopard chasing it. Right here.
I'm in Africa wearing a ball and chain. Oh, a ball and chain. I'll never mess with the talking lion again. Oh, talking lion again.
I loved sleeping outside, especially the time when a bush baby jumped onto one of my hammock trees and shook me awake in the middle of the night. But we also wanted to try out sleeping in a rendezvous for our last night in the park. It was fun.
Look, Allison, I'm not catching him, because he's probably poisonous. Got all red all over him.
We ticked off a few more animals during our final morning, but we never saw a cheetah or a rhino. I guess that means we have to go back again. We saw our hyena right as we made our exit.
In civilization now. Cows wandering around.
The next item on our adventure to-do list was to explore the beautiful scenery of the mountainous Graskop region. It was just a short 1-hour drive from Kruger's Western Gate. While climbing up the mountainside, we were surprised to learn most of what we thought was natural forest was all cultivated lumber plantations, as far as the eye could see in all directions. Still, it was pretty and interesting. We jump-started our exploring with a free fall of 229 feet over the Motitsi waterfall into one of the world's largest cable swings.
Not sure what my son's got me into, but we're gonna do a really big swing.
In as many sites as we could possibly see, including the 3 rendezvous, Bork's Luck Potholes, Berlin Falls, and Lisbon Falls. stopped to eat once the sun was down. Ate the most delicious peri-peri and a pretty decent ostrich burger.
Good.
We scored a private mountain lodge for the night, secluded between two waterfalls, for only $67. You hear all those frogs? That's insane. We heard them from like a mile away and then came to this pond to check it out. Milky Way is incredible up there. In the morning, we hiked to God's Window as the sun came up, stopped by a natural arch, and then made our way to Africa's last absolute monarchy, the Kingdom of Eswatini, our fifth and final country of the trip. The border crossing was fantastic. We were the only ones there, and were through in under 20 minutes.
We made it to Swaziland, Eswatini. And it's the king's birthday tomorrow, we found out. How about that?
We just happened to show up on Eswatini's Independence Day, featuring a double celebration. 55 years of independence from Great Britain, and King Mswati III's 55th birthday.
But that top of the hill right up there is the royal residence of the King of Eswatini.
The guard at the front gate didn't let us in. But we did have some awesome adventures. The first was the Sanguini cave paintings. It was one heck of a drive to get there. Definitely off the beaten path, but definitely worth it for such a unique experience.
I think you're nuts, brother.
When else are we ever going to see some ancient Bushman rock art?
Better be some kind of special art for this.
To help us find the cave, we hired a local lady named Ngeti, which means another in English. She had an older sister, and when her mother saw she was a girl when she was born, she said, "Another." And so that's her name. Sanguini is thought to be as old as 4,000 years. It was created by the San, or Bushmen. Painted in red ochre and animal blood, it depicts hunting parties, animals, and the arrival of the first Bantu pastoralists. It also contains some more mysterious humanoid insect creatures. Bushmen believed that cracks or fissures in rocks were gateways to the spiritual realm. As the figures were etched on either side of a fissure, archaeologists believed the site was important for shamanistic ceremonies. It was a pretty cool place. Pa didn't think the van would make it out, but we did, and drove Ngeti's son to some relatives while we were at it. And then we squoze one last adventure in before the sun went down.
This is the world's largest granite dome, Sabibi Rock. I'm gonna go climb. All right, let's see how far I can get up this thing. This is about as high as I can get before it's just a straight climb up that sheer cliff. That was pretty sweet.
We then bought dinner at a nice steak restaurant for our new friends we met at church.
Hello, hi.
On an actual GoPro camera. Hi. Hey, hey, hey.
Charity here. Don't know what to say, but hey.
She's our missionary.
Yeah, future missionary. Living into it. I did.
And this is just the old man here.
We love connecting with locals, and we shared many laughs and stories together. We had plenty to think about the next morning while exploring the grounds of our lodge. The dinner bill came out to the equivalent of around $90. For 9 people, that was a pretty dang good price. I work with major philanthropists for a living, and I don't consider myself to be one. However, these good folks live in a completely different economy than I do. One sweet lady, a single mom, asked if she could look at the bill. She stared at it in amazement and said, "You don't understand. This is 4 months of my salary." That hit us pretty hard. We gave her and her daughter a ride home. Pa slipped her another 4 months' salary on her way out. We've stayed in touch with many of those folks. Months later, one man sent me a desperate plea to help him pay his tuition bill so he could continue his education. The bill was $3.93. That morning, our canopy zipline tour in Malolocha National Park was canceled because of the rain and fog, but we were still able to visit Lion Cavern, officially designated as the oldest known mine in the world. The ancestors of the San mined ochre and hematite there, dating back to 43,000 BC. Our guide was named Mpendulo, which in English means reply. His mother had been praying for a child. God replied with him, so his name is Reply. After that, we could feel our adventures were almost at an end. We had our last border crossing, and then a 5-hour drive back to Johannesburg. We visited the Apartheid Museum, Nelson Mandela's house, and spent our last night in another cool and ridiculously inexpensive hotel. On our last morning, we ticked off another waterfall and a few more birds at some botanical gardens, visited the Cradle of Humankind, where we saw the largest concentration of human ancestral remains in the world, ate a delicious biltong pizza, and then went to the airport. The long journey back, with another stop in London, gave us plenty of time to contemplate Mark Twain's thought that broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. In the UK and the US, we went through border crossings that took 4 seconds with facial recognition technology rather than 4 hours. Explored castles and treasure hoards, including the crown jewels that were taken from Africa, and flew over terrain that would have been impossible to cross in all but the most recent moments of human history. All of these things had new meaning because of our time in Africa. In the face of all the wealth, technology, and efficiencies that enable much less human interaction, we couldn't help but miss our rickety African van and even standing in immigration lines visiting with humans we would have otherwise never met. Which countries have the bigger problems? In my culture, a crack or a fissure, especially in something solid like a rock, is always a sign of weakness or imperfection. But as the Bushmen believed, maybe that crack is the gateway to a higher spiritual realm. Maybe, like the people of Great Zimbabwe, we can use that crack to make bricks to build our civilization. Maybe. All I know is there's still a world full of places I haven't been to and people I haven't met. Africa did nothing to satiate my desire to travel. It only increased my appetite.
I've been missing you.
It is very, very dark.